Many blessings, my loves. Happy full moon. So I am recording this video today, pretty much at the exact time of the full moon. That is just a fluke that it's happened that way. Usually I come on a few days before the full moon, but we've had a really full weekend. So here I am on Moon Day again, Moon Day morning, and it is the full moon. So I'm going to share a screen with you all, and we're going to jump into the live sky. So here you can see Stellarium Web. So this is the live sky according to astronomy. This is the astrology I use, the study of the stars and the sky and the planets as they truly are right now. So in Western astrology, you know, it's coming up as the full moon in Gemini, but you can see in the live sky here, this is the constellation Taurus, and this is the moon. So the full moon will be exact at 9:16 a.m. It's 9:06 now, so yeah, only 10 minutes away. By the end of this video, we will be exactly on the full moon. So you can see this star cluster here is called the Pleiades. So this is having a big influence on this full moon. As well, later today, the moon will be crossing over Royal Star of the East, Aldebaran. Really beautiful golden star in the constellation Taurus. So what I really wanted to share around this full moon, you know, is that the energies of Taurus and Scorpio, where the sun is right now, it really is like, for me, I see these two constellations as like the gates in and out of the labyrinth. And it's like the symbol of going into the dark and then out again. So the journeys of the seasons in regards to, you know, whether you're in the north or the south, you know, we're in a changing time right now. So for us in the northern hemisphere, we are descending into the darkest part of the year. People who are in the southern hemisphere will be coming into the lighter part of the year. So they're coming into their spring, summertime. So the energy of Taurus, you know, for me, it really feels kind of connected to the energy of sensuality and love and connection and abundance and beauty, obviously ruled by Venus. And so all of the stuff that Taurus represents, you know, to me, it smells like summer, you know, it smells like spring. It's like that energy of the East. This is the royal star of the East, Aldebaran. So when we're thinking of the East as a direction, you know, we associate East with new beginnings, with the air element, with freshness, with the sunrise. It's that energy rising and growing and expanding into something. So in the full moon, it's like a rose in its full bloom, you know, like open in the sun. So in the fullness of the summer. So yeah, so the energy of Taurus, you know, connected to the Pleiades as well, because the Pleiades have been revered and honored and worshipped for thousands and thousands of years, you know, even in the oldest texts and in the indigenous tribes, you know, these stars have very important symbolism and meaning. You know, a lot of the Pleiades wisdom is connected to the planting of seeds. So when the Pleiades would rise, it would symbolize a new year, a good time to start planting the seeds. And there was a connection with the Pleiades with the seeds. So, and as we know, you know, for a seed to be successful, it needs to be incubated in the dark for a period, into the soil, into the earth. It doesn't always grow straight away. You know, some bulbs can remain in the underworld for a really long time before they pop out into the light. So the seeds, you know, they go on two parts of journeys. They have the incubation time, and then they have the fullness into the light expression time, creative out there in the world, fertility time, and then we go back in. And so this is what is really symbolic of the Taurian and the Scorpion energy. We're going to go over to the where the sun is right now in the live sky. Still quite close to Mars, but moving away from Ceres now, in early Scorpio. So zooming on out, you know, the sun is going to journey through Scorpio and then come into Ophiuchus, you know, so it really is on this gateway of Ophiuchus now that the sun is right on the leg of Ophiuchus. So it really is a combination of the energies of Scorpio and Ophiuchus that we're experiencing through our sun right now. And so the energy of death and the endings of the old cycles is entwined with the seeds of the new. This is how the Taurian energy is linked into the Scorpio energy, because the Taurian energy is where the seeds are, you know, starting to bubble and grow and express into the light, coming out of the underworld, being born into the earth again. So this energy of Scorpius is kind of like the transmutation that is required, you know, the breaking down and the death of the old year to enable the new seeds to be, you know, preserved and anchored down into the soil. You know, we can see this as well in like human, you know, recreation, that, you know, the sperm has to be incubated inside the womb to meet with the egg. And there is this whole journey of letting go of the old, like, parts of ourselves in the pregnancy journey to unfold this new version of who we're going to be, to bring in this new child. So I think I've shared this before, you know, the energies of death and life are really entwined. And, you know, speaking to many people who are death doulas and birth doulas, it really is the same place. You know, when you die or when you're born, you know, you're coming from the same place and going back to the same place. And there's like this crossing over point. So talking about the crossing over, you know, something that is really interesting as well is that there's a cross here right near, like underneath these constellations. So I like to really tune into all of the constellations and the journey of it. And, you know, we've got the boat here as well, Vela the boat. And there's all these, and Centaurus, he's like the protector, he's also half horse. He's very similar to the Minotaur, you know, in the fact that he's got hooves, and he's a centaur. So this is like also a link between the energy of Scorpio and Taurus and how they are combined and working together, that you can't have one without the other. So as we are descending down into the depth of the Scorpion, and we are seeing, you know, for us in the north, we're seeing the leaves literally falling around us. It's like the old year is dying. And just 2 days ago, we had our first frost here. And it's like the ice that comes and just destroys all of the flowers that were left. You know, it's like, that's it now, boom, game over, we're in winter. And so this is the frost that come, like literally just as the sun moved into Scorpio, it's like that death, it's like that raw quick sting of the frost is like the sting of the scorpion, you know. It can be really quite fierce and abrupt in its kind of death of something that really needs to shift. And so the Scorpio energy and the death of the old year enables us to cross over into the dark, into the winter, into the womb, into the inner realms of the winter time. And I think culturally, you know, we have become very disconnected from this time of self-incubation that we are learning through our cycle of life, through the seasons, to allow ourselves each year to let parts of us fall away, like the tree lets go of its leaves, you know, to really say, okay, let's just really let go of the old year and allow it to dissolve into the earth and break down and surrender all that we know and feel that we are. And so this journey now, because solstice is coming, you know, this journey building up to solstice, I mean, for us in the Northern Hemisphere, this is the spiral journey of the labyrinth. This is the journey into the darkest part of the year. It's the journey inside to, it's like there's no light left. It's so dark. You know, we could feel like, wow, really like overwhelmed by the dark, you know, and this feeling of not being able to see, especially with Neptune's influence over this cycle, which I'll talk about more in the chart in a moment. But the ability to navigate the dark and the winter, you know, and the death of the old, you know, is something that I think I definitely am really trying to work on. So for this winter after the solstice, I'm really going to incubate myself. I'm going to have some time off of social media, some time off of work, and really rest and just allow my body to regenerate and renew itself in the dark and find that light within, that inner fire, that inner spark of inspiration that can only come from that still point, from that rest, you know. And so we are coming now, you can see where the sun is. The sun is moving towards the galactic center. So this is when the sun is reborn every year through the black hole of our universe. It's getting close. And each year we have this opportunity to regenerate ourselves through rest, through stopping, through listening, through self-care and loving ourselves, also connected to the Taurus energy, you know, to really take care of our body, to really nourish ourselves from within, you know. And so, and in doing that and in taking this slower pace, thanks Taurus, Taurus can be quite slow and steady, right? So there's an invitation into a slower pace to really take this journey into the underworld, to allow ourselves to sink into the dark, into the depths of our soul, of our psyche, of our feelings, of all that is churning through us, to find the medicine inside. And this is where Ophiuchus comes in, because Ophiuchus has long been connected to the doctor. You know, even the symbol of Ophiuchus is now used in modern medicine. You know, so in the death of the old is where we find the medicine. So there is an opportunity here through this full moon, which is now, exactly now, exact time now of the full moon, to really feel what it is that is dying, to love that part of us that is dying and give thanks and gratitude for it. And also really tuning into the seeds or the light within that we are coming towards with the solstice. Those of you who are in the Northern Hemisphere, you are also tending the seeds, and you are also allowing the old of the winter and all that was gestated in the womb to release, and you are finding a new beginning. You know, you're probably kind of exploring out into the sun more and coming out into the light, you know. But let's not forget the time in the dark, the time that's regenerated us, the time that has renewed our being and our soul and our psyche. So the energy that I'm really feeling around this full moon, you know, it could be taking us into the death inside of us. And that can feel really uncomfortable, you know, to really sit with that and to really drop into that energy, you know. I think so many of us, we have this association with the dark being negative or bad or wrong. And to me, like a lot of my yoga practice that I'm working with others and myself is to allow ourselves to sink down into the earth, like this feeling of heaviness, and actually welcoming that and allowing, and it's like feeling so held in the earth that we could just really let go and let go and let go and be held into the earth, just like a bulb or a seed is just like planting itself down and becoming weighty in the soil, and letting the gravity just boom anchor us down into this physical, you know, because the winter is so still, it's so calm, it's about dropping down and into the stillness and really, really slowing our breath, slowing our being, taking our time to do things. And I like to imagine that there's a world underneath the upper layer or the upper world, and that, you know, I like to imagine I'm like a rabbit down in my burrow, or with the mushrooms and the mycelium and the tree roots that are all communicating together, and to drop down into that space, it to me it feels like the most supportive thing that we can do for ourselves right now, you know, because it's how can we feel safe in the earth, in the dark, on this land that we live, you know, to really reclaim a sense of belonging here on this earth. And so many of us, you know, are searching for this belonging to something, belonging, and it depends very much on how we was greeted when we was born, right? When we came out of our mother, you know, if we was told anything that we were told, you know, when we were first greeted, maybe we was shook upside down and rubbed down and chucked in a, you know, weighed and pulled and whatever, you know, like that can have a real effect on our sense of belonging, you know. Or was we born into a community with lots of people around us, and did we feel very safe and secure, you know? So Taurus can bring up a lot to do with security and safety and feeling like we belong here on this earth, you know. So really good themes to be working with around this full moon. And then, you know, when we're coming into our last quarter moon as well, the moon will be in Leo with Black Moon Lilith. So there's lots of energy of Lilith coming up around this full moon as well, which I'll talk about in a moment in the chart. But just talking about the Pleiades again, just quickly before I go over to the chart. There's like I think it's in the Vedic text that the Pleiades were known as the seven mothers, and they were connected to justice and righteousness and had the ability to destroy things. And so as well as bringing life and the seeds, the Pleiades had a connection with death, you know. So as I was saying, you know, you don't have one without the other, you know. The Pleiades have had so much poetry and art and different things written about them throughout time. You know, they really are, like, I see them as the original seed mothers. But, you know, to have a seed, you also have to have discarded the old, you know. So that also means that they are that symbol of the destruction of the feminine as well, which is, you know, part of our menstruation. When we bleed after we haven't conceived a baby, you know, we have to shed the old egg, and all that we didn't conceive we have to let go of, you know. So this is really a double-edged sword, you know, that we are wherever we are in the world, that we are working with these energies of life and death right now. And it feels really prominent for us with, you know, all the things that are going on in the world right now, that there is this connection to endings and beginnings and death and destruction, and also life and rebirth, that feels really prominent. I wanted to jump over to Cygnus, the Swan, because Cygnus is also a cross. And Cygnus is the Swan. Cygnus is connected to Bridget Anna, Isis, Sophia. This is the energy of really high frequency feminine energy. The cross of Bridget, you know, that's originally a Druid symbol taken over by Christianity, but it's a symbol of crossing over. So to cross over, you know, we had to go into the underworld to begin with. So this is where we've got the cross here over by Taurus and the boat. The boat takes us over to the west. The west has always been known as the place where the souls go. To the west, the setting sun, and Taurus is in the west in Scorpio. So we're going over to cross over. This is the cross here, Crocs. You know, this is at the galactic center here. This is the yoni, the black hole, the black sun, you know, that takes us into the underworld, the dark. We go through this journey of transformation, and then we find ourselves, you know, when the sun is in Capricorn and Aquarius here, this is where we're aligning with Cygnus, the Swan. So we are crossing over again, you know, and so after we come to the Aquarian energy, this is the fountain of youth, of new life. We're coming out of the spirit, out of the dark, and into a new beginning. With the Aquarian energy is like the purification of our soul to become young again. Then we hit the Pisces energy and we go back into a womb. So we separate from the spirit, we come, well, we're still always spirit, but we come out of the spirit realms, and then we're conceived into a new womb, into a new life. This is the ocean of consciousness of Pisces. So we have to cross over with Bridget from here, from the Cygnus, the Swan, to come back into the physical realms, which begin in the womb, Pisces, and then we give birth, Aries, Cetus the whale, and then we come into the physical earth, the Pleiades, the seed sisters, the midwives, you know, the doulas, the Taurian Hathors, you know, are really the physical rebirthing of us into the earth after our journey inside into the underworld, into the womb, just like Persephone, you know, she did that. So the seeds do that. There's so many stories, and Venus does that, you know. So this is real powerful medicine and wisdom to be working with on this full moon day. So just want to jump into the chart quickly and just show you some of the aspects. So full moon, 11 degrees of Taurus, obviously opposing the sun, Mars. Ceres is still at the end of Libra. They're getting a bit of spaciousness between them now. So, you know, this could be feeling quite a lot of like energy could be quite heated with Mars and the sun opposing the moon. Could feel quite emotional. We could be feeling especially because Mercury is in T-square to Black Moon Lilith in Leo, and Neptune, who's retrograde in Pisces. So, you know, as I was saying at my new moon report, you know, this cycle began in Libra, and we've been having a big focus on our hearts and our relationships. And so now at the time of this full moon, there's this T-square with Mercury, who's in Ophiuchus, Lilith, who's in Leo, and Neptune, who's in Pisces. So this brings up real confusion around our communications. There could be this real kind of like difficulty or challenge or tension around how we're communicating, especially with our needs and maybe even our sexuality, our sensuality, because Lilith energy and the Mercury energy in Ophiuchus is very connected to the serpent energy, so this could be feeling really blurry. And Neptune is retrograde, and he's going to be going direct by the end of this cycle. So he's having a real big impact on this cycle. He's in trine to the sun this whole cycle so far, and Mars. So we could be having a lot coming up through our dreams, like to clear stuff and to reprocess things that we may have not been resolved in our subconscious. I certainly have. We could be feeling extra psychic or extra sensitive, or but we may not be sure, or we may be confused around what we see and what we can vision. So Lilith opposing Neptune, it feels really like this, like there could be like this deceiving energy, or that we feel like we are there's not that much clarity on what we can see around our creativity and how we want to lead and our light and what we're going to grow. Lilith is over in the sun of Leo, so it's like, and she is, maybe bringing up fears around all that we could create, and so with the full moon in Taurus, it could be around our self-worth. Am I good enough to do that? Or just fearing that we can't do that, or that it's not going to be valued. There may be coming up themes around scarcity and not having enough, especially around money and finances. We may be questioning, if our work is going to bring in enough money to make us feel supported. Yeah. So Mercury in Ophiuchus, it really is like the messenger from deep inside the black hole. It's like, and the serpent, it's like the medicine is going to be around our throat chakra, around our voice, and really up here, in our throat and our jaw, and our jaw is actually connected to our pelvis, and the Tyrian energy, connected to the womb and giving birth, so I connect that to the Pleiades over in the womb of Taurus. So really working on communicating and softening our jaw, maybe massaging our jaw, doing pelvic rolls and wobbles, and just maybe moving that energy that may be stagnant in our body. Maybe using sound could be really good to move any blocked energy in our being. Breath work, mantras, I feel would be really helpful. I'm going to jump over to the last quarter moon. So the last quarter moon is with Lilith, and she's in this square to Ceres, Mars, and the Sun, which is always the way with the last quarter. So she's had this big impact, Lilith, on this cycle as well, and still opposing Neptune, so I would like to put in, like, for this last quarter, like, what is preventing us from really stepping into our dreams, because Lilith can be around the shadows and the dark, or the blocks that may be stopping us from really fully embracing this dream and this vision of our creativity. And also, we have a big T-square to Saturn as well. T-squares bring tension and challenge, so Saturn can do with our work and our responsibilities, and the Mars and Ceres and Sun energy really wants to work towards taking care and transformation. And the Sun is now in Ophiuchus, so the Sun is in a really deep place right now of transformation. It's going through its rebirth. And so when we're tuning into the seeds, that is our creativity, it's our inner fire. You know, what seeds are we really wanting to tend, and what are our blocks to growing that? You know, so it could be this energy of the last quarter moon with Juno there as well. It's like, what are we committed to, and why can't we grow that? You know, like, what is the block, or what is the illusion or the confusion? And really working with the the Lilith energy to help us uncover that. It could be a wound from the past, you know, or an old story that is stopping the new life from growing. You know, if there's a big rock above the bulb or the seed, you know, maybe the seed would grow around it, but sometimes, you know, you'd have to move the rock out the way. That could be like an energy of just really tuning into what that rock could symbolize, you know, or like, I had this experience this year actually, because I had some funding coming in from community fund for the Mama Village, which I'm running, and I felt, because I have my Chiron in Taurus, so I have a big thing about wounds, right, and not feeling like I'm worthy of abundance and self-worth. So to receive funding, to receive money, like a big deal of money, I had to journey into the wound around it, you know, of not feeling enough or not feeling valuable, and really feel that. And it was like I had to keep reminding myself that I was valuable and that I did deserve this, you know, and that it was the right thing for me. And I could feel it coming down in, like, from the dream into the physical, and I had to really receive it. I had to open my being to receive the abundance that I deserve, you know. So there, but first I had to really look at my resistance to it and all the ways that I might prevent myself from actually having that, you know. And now the funding has helped so many people in the community, and it continues to support the world, because, you know, each person that receives from the funding is getting such a beautiful, powerful experience and feeling valued. So by me valuing myself, it's like I was enabling others to feel valued too, because it ripples out, doesn't it? So that's just a little bit about self-worth and value, you know, and how we manifest things. You know, we have to actually feel it in our body that we are that, to reflect it back into us from an external source, you know. And so sometimes if the dream isn't manifesting, you know, maybe there's a block in the way that we need to work through first. Then it can come in when we really fully believe it and feel it in ourselves. So yeah, and then we'll have a new moon coming in Ophiuchus as well. So at the next new moon, I'll journey into Ophiuchus and my musings around that, because yeah, that's a beautiful rabbit hole to dive into, but I'll save that for next time. So yeah, good luck, my lovelies. The full moon is finished now, so I'm going to log off here and I'm going to upload this. And yeah, have a beautiful full moon day. Embrace your worth, your value, your sensuality, love our bodies, and yeah, really allow ourselves to slow pace with the Taurian energy, slow and steady, and just allow ourselves to rest as well if we need to do that. All right, many blessings, my loves. I'll see you soon. Mwah.